All right, here we go. It's Tuesday night, and I have no idea what's going on with Joe Mixon. Does anybody? Jamey Eisenberg, do you know?
That's a great way to start the show, buddy. Without any certainty about a player that we're all concerned about. Way to come with the best knowledge that you have. No, nobody knows.
No. Okay. Well, that's really disappointing. Ben Schrager, it's your job to find these things out. What's going on with Joe Mixon?
I just read every single tweet that mentioned Joe Mixon from today. Not a single one knew anything about Joe Mixon.
I don't know what to do. I've got some Geo bids, and
I'm gonna guess he's probably okay.
Okay. All right.
I dropped Gio in my waiver wire rankings. I can't go over 4% on a guy who may be a backup this week.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, we welcome you to Fantasy Football today. We're live on Twitch for the next hour answering your questions about life, friendship, football, probably mostly football. Adam, Jamey, and Ben here. All right, let's do this. Let's rock and roll. Let's get to the questions. Should I drop Landry or Chenault for Scott or Gio Bernard? He also has Henderson and Justin Jackson at running back in PPR, so he doesn't have to pick up those guys. But Scott, Bernard, would you drop Landry or Chenault for them, Jamey?
Landry's an easy guy to get away from at this point. He's just not right, would be my guess, with the hip. He's been battling a rib injury. They don't throw the ball a lot. Odell is obviously still going to get his targets. Austin Hooper's been doing a nice job of late. They're going to throw to the running backs. I'd like to hold on to Chenault, but if I need to drop one of those two, I would drop Landry.
All right. Juan Zaddy said, I have Lamar Jackson on bye this week, so he needs a quarterback. Who should I drop? DJ Moore, Josh Kelly, Mike Davis, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, T. Higgins, or Kenyon Drake? My goodness, you got some good players in there. Schrager, who's he dropping?
It's Kelly. I think the other options are actually all high upside options. Kelly probably has the least amount of upside and may not get the majority of touches in any game for the rest of the year.
I don't know if y'all heard the podcast today, but Jamey was talking about selling high on Derrick Henry. So, Jamey, we got this email, and I want to know what you think about this trade.
Okay,
it came from Tommy. He said, I took Jamey's advice and sold high on Derrick Henry. I gave Derrick Henry and Calvin Ridley for Christian McCaffrey, Terry McLaurin, and J.K. Dobbins. What do you think about that? Henry and Ridley for McCaffrey, McLaurin, and Dobbins.
Now you gave up a lot.
Yeah, I hated that trade.
Yeah. I mean, the only way that trade works out for you where you win, I think it's not bad if McCaffrey is back in week 8, as the reports seem to indicate. So if he's back in week 8, and you get McCaffrey rest of way, and McLaurin, it's the Ridley that's part of it.
Ridley kills it. It's not selling high anymore.
You gotta have J.K. Dobbins be the guy in Baltimore and be like really good.
Like if that had been Henry and McLaurin for McCaffrey and Ridley, then we're talking. But also keep in mind, Henry's at his bye, and McCaffrey is going to miss this week reportedly, maybe next week, and he's certainly going to miss week 13 when they have a bye. So Henry's got at least 2 games on Christian McCaffrey, 2 weeks on Christian McCaffrey. All right, so look, you want to ask us some Derrick Henry questions? He's always a polarizing player. Bring it. Jackson wants to know, half PPR, is Boston Scott enough of an upgrade over Phillip Lindsay, James White, and Devontae Freeman to spend big? It's a great question. Is Boston Scott enough of an upgrade over Phillip Lindsay, James White, and Devontae Freeman to spend big on Scott?
I don't think so. I think he's an upgrade, but I think they're all low-end RB2s in PPR. Scott, maybe mid-tier RB2 in PPR. In non-PPR, I like Scott a lot more than White, but I'm not spending big on Scott if you have those 3 other RB2 flex options.
The only guy he's an upgrade over that group is Lindsay with Melvin Gordon back, because I think you look at White in PPR, the game is going to determine what White does. If they're trailing like we saw last week, then White's going to be really good. If they're playing with a lead, then it's probably not going to be so good for James White. So, that's where Boston Scott comes into play. I have Devontae Freeman ranked ahead of Boston Scott. So, I'd rather play Freeman. So I don't think you should spend big, but you should try and get him.
You want to hear about this game? The Giants are 8th in yards per play and 10th in pressure rate. The Eagles are 7th in yards per play defensively. This is defensively. 7th in yards per play, and 9th in pressure rate. They've had very, very similar defenses statistically. They have played 4 common opponents. I don't know what you think about this. Listen, they've played 4 common opponents. The Rams, football team, Steelers, and Niners. And in those 4 games, the Eagles have given up 24 more points than the Giants have. What does that mean to you, Jamey? Because, like I said on the podcast today, how good of a matchup is this for the Eagles? It could determine a lot about how you approach the waiver wire. And it also makes this Thursday night game more exciting than 2 crappy teams playing in a crappy division. What do you think about that? Like, the Giants defense against 4 common opponents out of 6 games has been, I would say, significantly better than the Eagles defense.
They have been better. Health also factors into it. I don't think the Eagles have been as healthy as they could be over the course of the season.
On defense, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, Brandon Graham's been in and out of the lineup. Fletcher Cox has been a little banged up.
So is Slay. Mm-hmm.
So is Slay. I still like the Eagles defense better. I think their offense is better. So in terms of facing the Giants defense, I'd take that scenario versus the Giants defense going against the Eagles defense. Some of those numbers don't necessarily make a difference in how I'm going to approach it.
Okay.
So I still think you're going to look. Carson Wentz just went through a gauntlet of some tough defenses, and this is going to feel like a dream scenario for him. Plus, you also have not rested, but offense usually is better on a short week than the defense is.
All right, let's get to some more questions here from Wazless. AJ Green will be relevant. Just wait on it. Not a question, but an interesting topic. He's 55% rostered, I believe. He's pretty interesting. He's only available in one of my leagues. I put in a bid for him, 10-team league for AJ Green. Shraggy B, your thoughts on AJ Green?
I just put a bid in too. This week was encouraging. The rest of the season has not been encouraging at all. I think he should be rostered. I'm not ready to start him this week. I think it's a wait and see thing, but he should be on everyone's bench if possible.
Jamey, would you drop Devontae Freeman in a 10-team league for DeAndre Swift or Justin Jackson? 10-team PPR league, drop Freeman for Swift or Jackson.
Certainly for Swift. You got to hope that what you saw last week is a sign of things to come. Maybe not the overall production, but just the workload. And if I just need somebody to start this week, I would start Justin Jackson over Devontae Freeman. So if that's the only qualifier, then I would rather have Justin Jackson on my team than Devontae Freeman. But at some point Austin Eckler's coming back, and then that's going to be an issue for Jackson, whereas Freeman has at least shown you for these last 3 games, 2 for sure, that he's dominating the work for the Giants. It's just that he's dominating the work for the Giants.
19 touches 2 weeks in a row. I am tiering like 30 running backs for tomorrow's podcast. So I have a bunch of tiers, but which tier would you put Devontae Freeman in?
I'm crying that I'm not going to be on it.
The starts, but don't feel great about it. Start, but I hate myself for starting him. Or a bye-week replacement. Where would you put Devontae Freeman?
Start, but I hate myself.
Yeah.
I didn't even give him that much credit. I made him a bye-week replacement.
No. Somebody's getting 19 total touches in consecutive weeks is not a bye-week replacement.
Yeah, just second worst offense in the NFL, ahead of only the Jets. Like if Frank Gore were getting 19 touches, he'd be even lower than that. All right, I look forward to arguing about it tomorrow with not Jamey.
With neither of us, yeah.
Yeah, more questions from CChabs123. Start 3 of these: Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Jamison Crowder, Tyler Boyd, half PPR.
It's nice to have Michael Thomas and Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the easy ones. What's the rest? Crowder
or Boyd?
Crowder
against the Bills, and Boyd.
He owns the Bills.
Against Cleveland. Does it? Okay, good.
And I don't really care about Crowder matchups at this point.
Last week was bad for him.
Yeah, it was.
It was, and he still got the targets, yeah.
Yeah. Would you drop Dalton for Tua in a 10-team Superflex league?
Yes.
Yep.
What's the upside with Andy Dalton right now?
The upside is you saw like one really bad game, and he still has much better weapons and a much worse defense than Tua does. And he's not necessarily a good quarterback, but he's not playing in his first game in almost a year, not counting 2 passes.
Neither is Tua.
Kind of, though.
No, Tua basically is. I know he got some action this week. Whatever. He's starting his first game in almost a calendar year.
This is one of the more shocking 2020 things, but the Dolphins' offensive line is better than the Cowboys' offensive line.
Yeah, no, it is. But the Cowboys' receivers are better than the Dolphins.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. All right, you guys are both saying go with Tua. Hey, let's get a poll. Let's get a Twitch poll. Tua or Dalton rest of season. Let's get that going there. That's a real fun one. From Jacob, Mike Davis, James Robinson, Tyler Lockett. Pick 2.
Davis and Robinson.
Over Lockett.
Davis and Lockett.
Schrager. Interesting. Okay. Davis for sure. From Impeding Warrior. Should I trade Zeke and Miles Sanders for Camara and Terry McLaurin?
I would probably look for a better wide receiver. Obviously, you're getting the best player in that deal because Kamara's been the best player. And if Sanders is out for 2 weeks, then it makes the deal a little bit better. But if he's out longer than that, then you win the deal. I just don't know if McLaurin is good enough to get along with Camara to make that deal passable.
Do you know what, we did this on the Monday show, what Terry McLaurin is on pace for? Like how many receiving yards do you think he's on pace for? You had a guess.
I'm going to say 1,300.
Oh my gosh. 299, Jamey.
Wow.
1,299 yards on 155 targets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are pretty eye-opening numbers, especially in PPR. 95 catch pace, 1,300 yards.
But, I mean, Miles Sanders was in the mix to lead the NFL in rushing.
Yeah.
Before going down. And Zeke is still going to be a very good total yards guy, even if his rushing yards are not going to be there because of the offensive line.
All right, who you like for a flex from Solly D? Swift or Odell Beckham, half PPR? Swift
in
or
half, I'll go Odell.
Yeah, I'll take Swift.
Are we like starting Swift? Is that a thing now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
RB2.
Against Atlanta? Yes.
I know, but do you trust the workload?
I can only see it getting better. I can't see it getting worse. So, basically the way that game unfolded was Peterson got the start. Swift did everything in the second and third quarter. And then Peterson was the closer.
Yeah. I didn't even realize the World Series is on. Who do you guys like in the World Series?
The Rays.
Oh,
I would love the Rays to win.
I mean, I actually think the Rays.
Got the Dodgers.
No, I think the Dodgers are going to win. And I hope they win. And I hope they crush them. I guess I'm going to look in the camera and say, I hate the Tampa Bay Rays. I hate them. Very Dragon wants to know if we can drop Alexander Madison.
Yes.
Yep,
the only reason to hold him is if you're the Dalvin Cook manager or you just want to wait and see if Cook is not ready following the bye. But that was an utter disaster. And believe me, I know firsthand.
From Seabeard 1991, should I drop Aaron Rodgers? No! You should not drop Aaron Rodgers.
No.
But to follow up on that, like Aaron Rodgers had his second worst passer rating of any game in his career that he didn't leave with an injury. So horrible game for him. Sacked more times in that one game than he was in his first 3 games combined. People are asking if we should drop Robert Tonyan. Shouldn't we factor in that Rodgers threw for 160 yards and kind of be a little lenient on Robert Tonyan?
I would like to hold Robert Tonyan just to see one more week, especially since, Zach Ertz just went down and you don't have Mark Andrews this week. So there's probably a tight end needy manager in your league that you might be able to trade Tonyan to. But I don't have a lot of faith in Tonyan, and Heath brought this up last week, and it could be just what happened. All of Tanyan's big games came with Davonte Adams on the sideline. And so with their target leader back, and Valdez-Scantling is still going to get targets, and they're going to throw to Aaron Jones, is there enough targets for Tonyan, who we know Adams is really important to Rodgers in the red zone? Is he going to be given enough opportunities to be successful? And so, he's a tight end that scores, so he's in the same conversation with Eric Ebron and Jimmy Graham and those type of guys where there's not just a ton of faith, but you're kind of hoping. So maybe this is a week where Tonyan gets back on track. I'm curious, just to piggyback off the Bucs defense, because we had Heath was not on the podcast this morning, so he did not have a chance to chime in on this, but he did say it on FFT at 1:00 that he would take Derek Carr facing the Bucs at home over Carson Wentz facing the Giants as the number 1 quarterback to add this week, which kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, I don't agree with it. I think Wentz's matchup is okay, but Wentz is going to throw enough where the okay matchup makes him a must play compared to a guy who's facing a really tough defensive matchup in Derek Carr and the Bucs.
Yeah. The thing.
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I guess the case for Carr is that they probably are not going to be able to run the ball, even with Josh Jacobs. That's just the best run defense in football. They just got McClendon. I think that's still the best run defense in football. Let me just tell you what Wentz is on pace for. Sometimes it's helpful to kind of look at what he's on pace for. 3,736 yards, 21 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Carson Wentz is completing 59% of his passes and averaging less than 6 yards per attempt. He is having a horrible season, but he is on pace for 456 rushing yards, as Jamey pointed out on the show this morning, and 11 rushing touchdowns, which obviously won't happen, but I don't think he's a 500 or 400 rushing yard guy, but that part of his game appears to be back. That's big. I guess, no, I'd go with Wentz. Look, there's safety there with Wentz. He scored 20 fantasy points in what, 4 straight games?
4 straight, but I mean, Carr 3 of 4 was 24 or more. And like Heath's point was, which I understand, is that he just went into a place where it was a house of horrors for him and came out of it with arguably his best game of his career.
Yeah.
What he did against Kansas City in week 5 before their bye week. Now, I do think for Wentz, his numbers have been atrocious. And obviously, they're not getting healthier by losing Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders. But there are some reinforcements coming, whether it's just Deshaun Jackson or the potential of Dallas Goedert. But I also think you just look at it as Pittsburgh, Baltimore, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, back to back to back. And even though the 49ers are not the same 49ers, that's still a brutal 3-game stretch. And so now having to face the Giants, which is a team he knows very well, even though it's a different coach, it's a little bit of a, I think, semblance of confidence for him. He knows, looking at the division, the fact that the Cowboys lost, it's, in my opinion, it's the Eagles to lose. As bad as this division is, the Eagles are still the best team in the division. And, they just got to get a little bit of momentum. And the schedule just lightens up tremendously between now and week 13. So I think he's going to beat up on the Giants and have a decent game.
All right. Tua Tagovailoa, by the way, winning the poll 72% to 28%. That's okay. All right. Let's get some more questions here. How about someone dropped Robbie Anderson? What? Would you drop Parker, Crowder, or Slayton to pick up Robbie Anderson?
Slayton. Yeah, I would.
I think in a vacuum, I would drop Slayton, but the fact that Parker's on a bye and just had a quarterback change, I don't know how many people, and he's hurt, how many people are going to run to pick him up.
Oh, I would.
If he's out there by comparison to Slayton, who's coming off, 2 decent games and gets the Eagles this week.
I would do it. I would pick him up. Yeah. So everybody's going to say Slayton though, right?
No, I would drop Parker.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I'm stunned.
If it's an illegal Robbie Anderson's getting dropped, there's going to be quality players on the waiver wire. So it's probably 10 or 18.
Or it could just be like someone emailed me that Chris Godwin got dropped in one of their leagues. Could just be one of those weird things. But sure, take league depth into consideration. Maybe I'm overrating Davonte Parker. He had a terrible game last time out, and I'm just always forgiving him. From Go A Canes 87, which tight end to target for week 7? Logan Thomas, Ferkser, or Rodgers?
That'd be Richard Rodgers.
Yeah, Richard Rodgers. Logan Thomas, Ferkser, or Rodgers?
I'll have Ferkser higher than Thomas if Jonu's out, but you're making that claim today. Logan Thomas is a safer play than Ferkser because if Jonu plays, I'm not starting Ferkser at all.
I think you could probably go with Ferkser to pick up now. I don't know how many people are going to run to pick up Richard Rodgers if you're considering him. So, I would just kind of play it as who's got the most upside. Take Ferkser now. If Jonu comes back by the weekend, then you just switch for hopefully one of the other 2.
Well, Rodgers is on Thursday. Keep that in mind.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. DLGT3, would you drop Chase Edmonds, Lindsay, or Le'Veon Bell for Gio Bernard and or Boston Scott? And if yes, who? Well, one of them. Edmonds, Lindsay, Bell for Gio or Scott, and who? PPR.
I'd drop Lindsay for Scott, and I'd play Scott this week over those other options.
Would you guys rather have rest
Yeah.
of season, Lindsay or Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon, because if he does get work in that offense, he's going to be an absolute monster.
But Melvin Gordon could have a 2 or 3 game suspension at some point.
He could.
Worth holding on to Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hold on to all these guys. I mean, Chase Edmonds, I know, just had a disappointing game, and Kenyon Drake looked awesome, but, we've seen what it was the previous few weeks. So there's you got to make a tough call here. So if you want to try and guarantee yourself Boston Scott, the question becomes, is Boston Scott that much better than Phillip Lindsay, Le'Veon Bell, or Chase Edmonds? So I would have him ranked ahead of those guys. I'd rather play Boston Scott, but do I want to give up what could be a 2 or 3 game stretch of Phillip Lindsay or the potential lottery ticket of Chase Edmonds for that scenario? It depends on what your record is and what you need.
I think Chase Edmonds had to have been the most overstarted player last week. And I just didn't get it. I don't think we were really giving that advice. We were like, you got to have him, but you don't have to start him. And he was started in more than 40% of leagues.
There were 2 things. First off, our projections, which was done by Sportsline, it's a computer-based model, had Edmonds projected for more points. So people look at their lineups as they have both those guys. They're going to start Chase Edmonds. He was projected for a lot of points. The other part of it is, and this is something that you take into account also for people that play daily, Chase Edmonds was priced higher than Kenyon Drake on DraftKings. So, people look at that and they follow that advice as well. It's just, sometimes the numbers come out the wrong way. We have a lot of human error, obviously, and sometimes there's a mathematical and a computer error as well.
There was also a really shallow running back. Good options. I think Edmonds being ranked in the top 30 was fair last week. It was totally fair.
Yeah, I just didn't think he
started a lot.
45-ish% of leagues. Andrew Ripa says, what do I do with Clyde Edwards-Elaire?
Start him every week.
If you can sell him as an RB1 based on this performance, great, but everyone knows who Le'Veon Bell is. Everyone is scared of it. So try to find a manager who's not, but you're probably holding on to him and starting him as high-end RB2. Yeah,
I mean, I think the thing that if you're trying to sell him, you're going to sell him with the thought of he just did this for another positive game. You're going to try and sell him on the fact that look how teams are playing the Chiefs, so there is room for the fact that he had 30 total touches for 2 running backs to be successful in this offense, including the fact that Darrell Williams has scored. And then I would just, plaster in the comment section of your trade offer what Andy Reid said. He's still our starter. So he may be starter in name. That may not mean anything once Le'Veon Bell gets going. It could take several weeks until Le'Veon Bell gets going. But I do think that there's still going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire's backfield. It's like what happened last year when Damian Williams was healthy. He was still the guy. He still was the better of the trio at one point when they had Darrell Williams and LaShawn McCoy going. But there's going to be a downward turn to some degree for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But yes, if you could sell him for a running back that was drafted in a similar range, I would try and do so.
Okay, but if we go back to last year with Damian Williams, the first 2 games of the year before he got hurt, he had 13 carries and 6 catches in one game, 9 carries and 3 catches in another game, and just quite frankly wasn't good enough. The catches were nice, but the carries were very even with LaShawn McCoy. Is that what you see happening here? Like, what's the share of carries? Does he get 75% of the carries?
I would say probably 65 to 70% of the carries. Again, it's going to take some time for Le'Veon Bell to get worked up to what Andy Reid feels comfortable enough with him. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, while he didn't have a full offseason, was still, thrown in right from the jump. I think Le'Veon's going to have a role. I think he's going to have a chance to give you some good weeks. But in terms of what he does to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't think it's going to be a situation where you're completely benching Edwards-Helaire at any point soon.
Here's an interesting one. Would you trade him for Jonathan Taylor when Taylor he must have the best running back schedule going forward after this week 7 bye? I mean, it is like Baltimore in week 9 and every other opponent through week 15 is 23rd or worse against running backs, including 5 games against 29, 31, 32, 30, and 32 in terms of fantasy points allowed to running backs. I mean, it's so tantalizing. Edwards-Helaire or Jonathan Taylor?
I'd rather have Taylor, and you probably want to do it before this week because Clyde may disappoint this week against Denver, and that trade may not be on the table anymore when Taylor's coming off his bye.
Yes, now is time to make the trade. Yes, you'd rather have Taylor rest the way. It makes me want to have Jordan Wilkins on my team just in case something does happen to Taylor because that's, one of those lottery tickets that could be a big difference maker for you. And I think an interesting question is, you could do a poll on this if you want, Adam. If you're doing a redraft dynasty rookie draft right now, who is 101?
Yeah. All right. So we got to let's give 3 or 4 options here.
It would be Taylor. It would be
Clyde, right?
Clyde, and it would
Lamb.
be who?
Lamb.
Yeah, I guess Lamb would be in there, but I think if you're looking long term, Dobbins was still in that conversation. Swift was in that conversation.
What
Swift
about? I mean, I'm sorry.
Justin Jefferson?
Calvin Ridley. I'd rather have him than CeeDee Lamb.
We're talking rookie draft.
Oh, you're just talking rookies? I thought we're doing a startup dynasty league.
Oh, no, I was looking back on what the rookie draft was, where it was.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It was Lamb. It was Edwards Elaire over Taylor.
Okay, so the question is, of the current rookies, if you're redrafting in dynasty today, who's number 1? So it's Edwards Elaire, Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb,
Justin Jefferson.
I don't know that we can do that many options. We could just do a chat. Let's get it in the chat here. You all heard the question. So who is it? Is it Justin Jefferson? Is it CeeDee Lamb? Is it one of the running backs? Is it DeAndre Swift? Maybe he's about to take off. I'd go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You?
We were saying that Taylor in 2021 could be the best of the group. We were saying Dobbins in 2021 could be the best of the group, given the fact of what the Baltimore offense looks like. So the fact that you're getting Taylor now doing what he's doing, and that Edwards-Helaire for the rest of this season is going to lose some value to whatever extent, I would take Taylor. I mean, we just told you we're going to take Taylor if you can make a trade right now. So given what those guys have already done, where it's been close, I would rather have Taylor.
Taylor, Lamb, CEH, Lamb. All right, Jefferson. This is a good question. There's a lot of different answers. All right, let's read some more questions here. We'll go fast. From Corey, any chance LaMichael Pirine becomes a feature back this year?
Speaking of rookies,
there's a good chance.
It's like, we didn't really get a chance to see what anybody could do. Not anybody, but we didn't get a chance to see what Le'Veon Bell could do in this Jets offense as the featured guy for a full game because he got hurt in week 1.
What about last year?
Well, they revamped the offensive line, and Darnold's been hurt, so it's been a mess. I mean, you've seen now 4 games of Frank Gore, 5 games of Frank Gore, being the lead guy. He's just old. He's a great player. I don't want to disrespect Frank Gore. I hate saying bad things about him, but he's 37. I mean, it's time to move on, and it's time to give Pirine more opportunity. He played 51% of the snaps to 35% for Frank Gore, even though Gore had 15 total touches. So make the switch, give Pirine 15 total touches. I said it last week. I'd like to see him become a poor man's version of James Robinson, where they move on from the veteran guy and then they let the young guy come in and do his thing. And maybe Pirine could have that type of impact.
All right, this is a rapid fire segment from Hate Maker. I'm trying to sell high on Adam Thielen. Am I silly for thinking Deontay Johnson could be better rest of season?
I don't think you're silly, but I don't like it. I think Thielen's a pretty surefire option compared to Deontay Johnson.
Silly is not a good enough adjective to describe how crazy you are.
I think it's insane. All right, I have Matthew Stafford and Derek Carr. This comes from Vikes. Should I drop either Stafford or Carr for Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, or Tua?
I mean, you see what Matt Ryan is when he has Julio. Yeah. Absolutely. I would rather have Stafford and Ryan.
Yep, Stafford, Ryan.
Okay. Not Brees over Ryan?
No, I'd rather have Ryan and Stafford, the 2 Mats.
From Ascari Scar, can you trust Tyler Lockett anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
From Awesome 77776, should I drop Jonnu Smith?
No.
No, unless we find out he's out for an extended period of time, but that does not seem to be the case at all.
From Jade Hog, what is Davonte Parker's value rest of season? Is it hurt with Tua? How do you rank him rest of way with Sammy Watkins, AJ Brown? I'm gonna guess that's AJ Green, Mike Williams, and Sterling Shepard. Is Parker ahead of Watkins, AJ Green, Mike Williams, and Sterling Shepard?
He's definitely ahead of Watkins. He might be in the mix with those guys because what we've seen is that the Dolphins defense is better than people give it credit for. Their run game is better than people give it credit for. And they've been able to beat up on some teams that they're better than. Jacksonville and the Jets in particular, where Parker's numbers have not been great. And so if Preston Williams starts to get a little healthier, and Mike Gesicki's had some big games as well, you factor in Tua being a rookie, I think this is the time to sell Davonte Parker, but I hope he's better than those guys. I would put him ahead of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if those guys are better.
Okay, this is from Jay Schultz. Start 2 in non-PPR. Devontae Freeman, Chase Edmonds, LaMichael Pirine, and Dearness Johnson. Ugh.
Somehow I'm saying Freeman is the first sure option, which is crazy. And it's probably Edmonds. You're probably hoping for the upside, score a touchdown, because Dearness Johnson has not done anything.
Well, this could be a week for him, though.
This could be the week for. I was just going to say that this is an interesting week for Dearness Johnson because he's going to get dropped in a lot of leagues, understandably so. You know, when you have a chance to pick up Boston Scott or Giovanni Bernard in case Mixon's out, or you're looking at JaMychal Hasty, for example, who has an opportunity, potentially in the San Francisco backfield. They should beat the Bengals. They should have an opportunity to use their running game like they typically do, especially with Baker banged up. And so it wouldn't shock me if Dearness Johnson gets 10 carries in this matchup. And if he does get 10 carries, we saw it with the Cowboys game. The one thing about Edmonds is this game feels like it's going to be track meet between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. And that's when he's been at his best, when they've had to throw and be up tempo and not lean on Kenyon Drake. Like, Drake makes me nervous. I feel like I have him ranked too high. He's just inside my top 20. But this could be the week where you want to start Edmonds and not start Drake.
R Styles 7-11. I've got Goff, Garoppolo, and Minshew. Start one and drop one. Goff, Garoppolo, Minshew.
Minshew's the one I have ranked the highest, so I would probably start him, but I don't really have a lot of faith in any of these guys. I mean, if the Chargers get Melvin Ingram back, it's going to be a rough day for Minshew. And Goff, I don't know how good he'll be against the Bears. The one thing the Bears have done is kept quarterbacks in check for the most part. Garoppolo is interesting because, you said it, Adam, the Patriots defense, we kind of don't know how they're getting it done, but they're getting it done once again against opposing quarterbacks. There is the revenge game factor. He is going into Foxborough, but you can't feel very good about him either. So I just take my chance with the guy who's been the best fantasy quarterback of that trio, and Minshew.
All right. How about Hawkinson or Hurst, PPR?
Hawkinson.
Let's see what people are saying about this number 1 pick. CEH. Yeah, it's pretty split. And then they stopped answering it. They lost interest, it seems. I would say CEH is the slight winner right now. Man, we got a lot of questions. Is that Young Ben or Jimmy G? Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to Foxborough this weekend.
That's a good guy to be mistaken for. I'll tell you that. Very handsome gentleman.
I'll take that.
Yeah, that is Young Ben answering our questions. We'll see if we can get Garoppolo on one of these days. From K. Heath. Is this just Heath? Full PPR, start 2. Will Fuller, David Montgomery, DJ Chark, DJ Moore, Robert Woods. Will Fuller, David Montgomery, DJ Chark, DJ Moore, Robert Woods. Start 2.
The first 2.
Fuller and Montgomery? Okay. Lindsay or White, PPR?
White.
Unless Gordon, for whatever reason, is out this week.
Right.
OG Crazy, would you trade Tannehill, James Robinson, and Fuller, the Hall, Tannehill, Robinson, and Fuller, to get Lamar Jackson and Le'Veon Bell?
No. Did Adam send you that trade?
I said a couple of trades that got quickly rejected today.
I offered Heath a trade in our 2-quarterback league. I offered him, and he rejected it. Gardner Minshew, Derrick Henry, and Adrian Peterson for Davante Adams, James Conner, and Andy Dalton.
Wait, say who was it again?
Gardner Minshew, Derrick Henry, and Adrian Peterson for Andy Dalton, James Conner, and Davante Adams. And I anticipated him rejecting it, but his team, his 2 quarterbacks in a 2-quarterback league are Derek Carr and Andy Dalton. And his only running back right now is James Conner. He has Eckler banged up. And his receiver depth is amazing.
Okay, now that's a reject. Maybe you'll get a one back at you. By the way, so we do have a poll. If you're redrafting in Dynasty, who are you taking? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, or other? Oh, Taylor just pulled ahead. Taylor has 39%, Clyde Edwards-Helaire 37%. Justin Jefferson has 14%. CeeDee Lamb has 6%. So Jefferson ahead of Lamb right now. That's pretty interesting. Oh, we're tied. Clyde, Edwards, Elaire, and Taylor. No, Taylor pulls ahead. And other got 4% of the vote. So very close.
Others got to be what? T. Higgins,
Dobbins,
Swift, probably.
Yeah, I don't know if people would take Burrow. Probably not.
Could 2 quarterback.
All right.
Herbert. What about Herbert?
Yeah, he looks really good.
So I decided probably on Sunday afternoon that I was going to make Justin Herbert start of the week, and for this week, probably about the time that Madison was sneaking it up, and I looked today our projections on Sportsline. Herbert is our number 1 quarterback.
Oh my God. Jeez, I'm nervous about trusting him because I just have a fear of rookie quarterbacks. Because what were we saying about Joe Burrow after the first 2 games? I thought he was the most overrated, overvalued player. Rookie quarterbacks take their lumps. So I'm a little nervous about that, Jamey.
I get it. I can see this is a game where they can run on Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's offense doesn't put up much of a fight, and Herbert doesn't have a huge game. I could also see this, being the type. Look what happened to Detroit last week. We thought that Stafford was going to have a huge game against the Jaguars. Back-to-back road games for Jacksonville. I'm sorry. Long road trip for Jacksonville. They were home last week. Long road trip for Jacksonville. I think it's going to be a good kind of showcase game for Herbert. Gets his first win in the NFL, and kind of has one of those 302 type of games. I mean, he's averaging 300 yards a game as a starter.
He's been so good. Wazless wants to know, who do I pick up? Gronkowski, Fells, Hooper, or Ferkser?
I mean, give Gronk credit. Last 2 games, 14 targets. He's been heavily involved. It's been even last week with the guys getting healthy, Godwin and Evans coming back. I mean, he's getting more targets than Mike Evans at this point. And so you remember our fear in the offseason that one of the guys would suffer if Gronk was involved, whether it was going to be Godwin or Evans.
Yeah.
And Evans seems to be the one that's suffering right now, especially with some of those red zone opportunities.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to watch. 14 receiving yards in 3 games with Chris Godwin for Mike Evans. I don't know. How are you valuing him right now?
I have Evans ranked as a number 3 wide receiver. So, I mean, that's, I think the way you have to view him is as a low end starter. It's hard to bench him. Like I have Evans in 1 league. It's a dynasty league that he was my number 1 receiver going into the season. So we start 5 receivers. I can't bench him, but I'm terrified, of this being the type of player he's going to be.
Let's see. Here's a question from Mr. Chavez. Which quarterback would you rather have rest of season, Matt Ryan or Ryan Tannehill? And is Christian Kirk worth a pickup? And can we get internet from Ben Schrager? I mean, this guy, Shraggy B, I'm going to have to yell at him on the air tomorrow. We got to get some 5G up in there for Schrager. Who would you rather have, Ryan Tannehill or Matt Ryan, Jamey?
Matt Ryan, especially with Taylor Lewan out.
Okay. Tannehill, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Bears, Colts, Ravens, Colts. Those are his next 6 games. That would be 4 matchups against teams that are currently top 7 against quarterbacks. Bengals are 13th. Baltimore is actually 19th, but they're probably better than that. What was the second part of that? Is Christian Kirk worth a pickup?
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying it. I've been putting it in the waiver wire column for the last 3 weeks, and it's been very solid performances from our last 2 weeks. 3 weeks was when he started, when he got a little bit more involved. And so, you see what the upside is. They didn't have to, throw to him very much in the game against the Cowboys, but this week he could have a monster game against the Seahawks. So there's a lot of good receivers this week. It really is a great week for wide receivers. It's hard to get guys that are ranked in the top 24 and to say that guys that are outside of it that you don't like. And so he's in the top 30 for me, but I think there are at least 30 good wide receivers, and I think he's going to have a big game.
From Galactic Marine, should I keep rostering both Evan Ingram and Dalton Schultz?
I mean, it just depends on what you need. To hope that one guy steps forward ahead of the next. I would rather have Schultz for this week. So take that for what it's worth. But I mean, Ingram just continues to have good matchups. He just doesn't take advantage of it. It's so frustrating.
Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable. It's hard to explain. All right. There's a really tough one. Luke 3838. Would you trade Will Fuller for Amari Cooper?
I'd rather have Will Fuller.
Okay. From Zach Morris's trash, Shaggy B is Rookie of the Year. What do you think that means? That he's a newcomer of the year? Because he was actually on the staff last year, or that he looks like Henry Rowan-Gardner?
You look like Henry Rowan.
I look right. That's my doppelganger. I'm happy for Schrager, but I'm not giving him Henry Rowan-Gardner. That's
Do you
my
prefer to be Rookie of the Year, or I forget what his name was in the American Pie?
Oh, Kevin.
Kevin. Which movie character?
I'd rather be Rookie than rather be Rowan-Gardner.
You'd rather be Rowan-Gardner.
Pitch for the Cubs, dude. That's awesome. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. American Pie, great movie though. Speaking of which, JDS 730 says Caddyshack versus Stripes.
It's a tough call. Both are great. I'd probably go Caddyshack, but I love them both.
It's Caddyshack.
Any chance that Schrager has seen Stripes?
He's never heard of it. Any chance he's seen Caddyshack?
Caddyshack, I'm going to guess he's heard of for sure. I mean, he's an athlete. It's hard to be an athlete and not hear of Caddyshack. So
I'm going to text him. There's no way he's seen it. Ben, have you seen Caddyshack?
We know he can't watch it online because the internet craps out.
He's got the worst internet. It's so weird, man. Hawkinson or we answered that. Hawkinson or Hurst PPR, Jamey? What was the answer?
The answer is Hawkinson. He gets the Falcons.
Wentz or Dalton?
Wentz.
Start three of these guys. Well, he only gave three options, so that's interesting. How would you rank David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, Devin Singletary?
What's the first name again?
David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, Devin Singletary.
In that order.
Okay, what tier do you think I put Devin Singletary in? Was he in? I don't even remember the names of the tiers.
The one that start, but you don't want to, or something.
Start, but don't feel great about them. Yeah. Start, but I hate myself for starting them, or bye-week replacement.
I hate myself for starting.
Yeah, that's right. That's where I put them. By the way, breaking news: Ben Schrager has seen Caddyshack and thinks it's a great movie. Unbelievable news.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be in sports and be an athlete and not see Caddyshack. Stripes is a different one. I bet he hasn't seen Stripes.
No, let's ask him. I don't agree with that about Caddyshack. It's not like it is a sports movie.
You're gonna put it in that category?
More so than Die Hard's a Christmas movie, but it's not like a sporty movie. I don't know. How about Stripes? Okay, there's no way. All right, from the last OG, which apparently is a good show. Half PPR, McKinnon, Higgins, or Fulgham? Ooh, that's a tough one.
Fulgham. No, you know what? I'll take McKinnon.
Okay. Oh, Ben Schrager. How about Stripes? Is it a TV show? Question mark. We'll just look at that. Yeah, Neklo wants to know what is Jarek McKinnon's value right now?
It's high. You know, first off, I was surprised. The 49ers made some transactions today, and they did not put Raheem Mostert on IR. They did put Ben Garland on IR. So I was surprised that they didn't make that move yet. Maybe they're just waiting to see what happens over the next couple of days. But if Mostert goes on IR and misses 3 games, I mean, think about what McKinnon was those 2 games without Raheem Mostert there. He was awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that the value would be as a borderline top 15 running back, borderline number 1 type of guy.
So you don't think Hasty could overtake him, or Coleman potentially?
I mean, that's a fear, but you know, they had Wilson healthy, and they had Hasty healthy. They could have used Hasty during those 2 games.
Yeah, but you know what? McKinnon honestly really hasn't run the ball that well. And they finally were, they may have finally been like, all right, we got to stop with him. We got to go with someone else. And they went with Hasty.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I just look at the numbers that he produced.
Yeah, the numbers were eye-popping for sure. The fantasy points. It's from Selfish Hades. I never know how to pronounce your name there. Who should I try and trade Kenyon Drake for? Should I sell high?
Yes, absolutely sell high. He's still not working in the passing game. Touchdowns are something you don't want to chase. Big game like that for a guy that had been struggling, you don't want to chase. They have a guy named Chase on the roster that could be better than him. So, I mean, look, if you can turn Kenyon, like here's a trade I would try to do. I would try and trade Kenyon Drake for Chris Godwin.
Okay. What about for James Robinson? Would you do that?
Yes, I'd rather have James Robinson. He's been better.
Okay. Miles Sanders.
If you can withstand the injury, yes.
Yeah. Okay. We've got about 10 minutes left. Get your questions in here. No score in the baseball game. I am a big Tyler Glasnow fan, as much as I want his team to lose. Glasnow is just tremendous. From Goya Beans, Gaskin trade for Evans and Henry? Hunter Henry. So
Gaskin
for Evans and Henry.
I would make that trade if you can afford the loss at running back, yes.
Ritesh 2094. With Tua as a starter, how reliable is Mike Gesicki?
I mean, I would still value him as a starter when he's available, but I would also be looking to find somebody else just in case.
From SA3 Roman, Cam Newton stoppable for Herbert rest of season? Well, he is stoppable. We saw that. You probably meant droppable. So Cam Newton droppable for Herbert rest of season?
I guess if you want to play the upside card, but Cam, don't judge him based on the one game that he had last week. I think he's still going to be a great fantasy quarterback. He's still going to run. That's amazing. So I guess if you're asking me rest of season, I'd rather still have Cam.
From Drock Oval. You guys are the most dedicated fantasy football crew. Thank you. Yes. We hope we help. From Fortnite Lover. I have Miles Sanders. Should I go for Boston Scott or Giovanni Bernard in a standard scoring league to fill his spot?
I mean, at this point, you just take Boston Scott and play it out however long Miles Sanders is going to miss. But, in a player versus player, if you tell me Joe Mixon's out, I'd rather have Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah. From Andrea Buffalo, if Joe Mixon is out, Josh Kelly or Antonio Gibson. So just if she has to sit Mixon, Josh Kelly or Gibson, half PPR.
I'll buy back into Gibson just with the matchup against Dallas. It's not a good defense, even with the great Leighton Vander Esch back. I mean, look, Drake just had his blow-up game against that defense because they're so bad. So
they're bad.
Buy back into Gibson.
Vikes wants to know if he should trade McCaffrey for Jonathan Taylor and Brandon Ayuk.
I don't think you should do that with McCaffrey's return looming, but the fact that Taylor's schedule is so good and he's been as productive as he has been, if you can do just a little bit better at receiver, then I'd make that trade.
Okay, how about from Corey? Is Myles Gaskin in trouble with Breida's increased workload and a quarterback switch?
I wouldn't worry about Breida. And he could be in trouble, but, I'll buy into Chan Gailey's offense. We've seen it enough times. He's been around so long that he throws to the running back so much and involves them in the passing game. I think one interesting move we could see is if Boston Scott struggles and Miles Sanders is out next week, it wouldn't shock me if the Eagles trade for Jordan Howard.
Oh, that's interesting. The baby screaming in the other room. Sorry, I was a little disturbed by that. Bolt one up. I lost Dak. My backup is Burrow. I picked up and started Dalton, but Burrow outscored him. So should I keep Dalton or drop him for Wentz or roll with Burrow rest of season?
I would drop Dalton for Wentz and play the matchups. And this week I would play Wentz.
From Neclo, Herbert.
I can't stress how good the schedule is for Wentz coming up.
If the Giants are in fact a good matchup, which they haven't been, but as a Giants fan, I don't buy it one bit. I think their defense is bad, and it is a good matchup. I just don't know if he's got enough there, Jamey. Like the offensive line is so bad, we know that. And I guess I'd feel better about him if Goddard came back. But if you're just throwing to Fulgham, Ward, and Deshaun Jackson, is that enough? I don't know.
I think if you tell me he's going to run for 30 or more yards, which he's done 3 of the 4 games,
would be big.
So,
yeah.
So put the 3 points there, right?
Okay.
Put a turnover on it too. So -2. And then 45 pass attempts. I don't know what he's averaging.
That's the thing. You said on the podcast that you thought it would be a positive game script for Boston Scott. So they are facing a team that they should beat. Do they have to throw that much? That's always been the key. The thing with Wentz has been throwing so much, but is this a game where they finally run the ball a little bit more? Or stop throwing?
I don't know if they can.
Yeah.
I
don't know if I'd feel better about him with Sanders in or out, but
I would feel worse with him if Sanders was healthy.
Right. That makes sense.
And Lane Johnson's going to be back too, so that's good.
Jamison Crowder or Henry Ruggs?
Crowder. Ruggs is going to deal with Carlton Davis most likely, and that's not been good.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, who else are they going to put him on?
I don't know if that's a shadow situation.
I don't know. I try and take him away as much as I can.
Carlton
it's hard
Davis.
to because Ruggs can run by anybody, but
He's so good. Carlton Davis. I love it, man. This is from T. Burns. Rank Boyd, Anderson, and Fuller this week.
reverse order.
Fuller, Anderson, Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Newton or Justin Herbert?
Herbert this week.
Hey, we're almost at 7,000 followers. That's awesome. Hit the follow button, baby. Get on that. Have we passed it yet? Let's see. No, not yet. We're getting there, though. All right, let's see. CJ Rocks. I need help at wide receiver. Should I trade Aaron Jones for James Conner and Tyler Lockett?
Yes, that's a fair deal.
I think that's pretty good. From EK, Jimmy Graham or Evan Ingram?
Is it your boss, EK?
I don't think so.
Jimmy Graham or Evan Ingram?
Yeah, he would have just
I would go with Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham over Evan Ingram. Okay. From RJ Unkera 0. Christian Kirk, Jamison Crowder, Henry Ruggs. Start 1, bench 1, drop 1. That's a fun game. Start, bench, drop. Kirk, Crowder, Ruggs.
Start Crowder, bench Kirk, cut Ruggs, but I hate it.
Ooh, we've got a fun Twitch watch party this Sunday, and our guests are going to be Danny Woodhead and Vernon Davis for the Niners-Patriots game. Cool. We had Danny Woodhead on. I want to talk about this on the podcast. We had Danny Woodhead on 2 weeks ago, and he's one of the best guys. We've had nothing but home runs, but he was a grand slam. And he said, the most important thing for an offense is being able to win in man coverage, being able to win man-to-man, one-on-one. I just thought that was so interesting. We judge quarterbacks all the time. Maybe they just don't have guys who are winning one-on-one matchups. It was such a simple thing, but it really resonated with me. So I'm looking forward to talking to him again. Vernon Davis also coming on to represent the 49ers. And that's our watch party, 4 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Be here, baby. Be here. It's going to be fun. T. Preston wants us to talk about Swift. Is it real?
I think so. I mean, it's the Lions. They tend to screw things up. It's still a crowded backfield because of Peterson and Kerryon Johnson. But, man, I go back to, I don't know how much I said it last week on our podcast, so I apologize. I think I may have said it in the NFC preview show. But I said it all day on Sunday that this felt like the time that they should unleash him. And it was my bold prediction on Fantasy Football Today that he was going to go for, I think I said 150 total yards and 2 touchdowns. He fell short. I said 150 yards and a touchdown. He fell short of the total yards, but over 100 rushing yards and 2 scores. Like I said today, I wish I would have made him the start of the week.
Yeah.
He is so much better than Adrian Peterson at this point. He's so much better than Kerryon Johnson at this point. Like, how do you not feature him? And if he struggles, then put in the other guys. But, give him 10 plus touches in the first half. Give him 15 plus touches in the first half. Let him be the catalyst of your offense and work in the passing game, because he just changes the tenor of what that team looks like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, give him the touches, man. From Damien, 305, should I trade Watson and Clyde Edwards-Elaire for Godwin and Jonathan Taylor? Watson and Clyde Edwards-Elaire for Godwin and Taylor.
If you can find a quarterback to replace Watson, then yes, because you're getting a moderate upgrade at running back, at worst case. At least I think so. And then you're getting what should be a top 10 caliber wide receiver rest of the way.
Common among the uncommon says, do you think Christian McCaffrey is worth holding on, or should I try to trade? And do you think he'll be himself when he returns?
We don't know. The good thing is unlike, let's say, Saquon Barkley last year, he has waited enough time to hopefully have that ankle injury heal, and they're being cautious with him. The fact that they're still in playoff contention is a good sign, because remember when he got hurt, we thought, oh no, why would they rush him back? Because they don't have anything to play for. Well, they're 3-3 and they have a lot to play for. If you could trade him for something fantastic that can help you now, then you do so. Like the one trade that we just was proposed, right? I don't think it was for him, but was it Connor and Lockett for McCaffrey? It was Connor and Lockett for somebody else.
Connor and Lockett for Camara, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting that type of deal, you take it. If you're getting a top 5, top 8 caliber running back in return and a top 5 to 10 wide receiver in return, it's hard to overlook that.
Okay, this is from Coyote, sort of. CEO Yeti. Yeah, I don't know. Chark or James Robinson at flex?
James Robinson.
From E. Feinberg. Should I trade Will Fuller for Kenyon Drake? He needs running backs. Sanders and Eckler as running backs. He has Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk. It's a standard scoring league. That's big as well. Would you trade Fuller for Drake?
It's fair, but I would try and do a little bit better just because I think Drake's big game is a fluke.
I want to see where Kenyon Drake ranks per game. 4, 5, 6, 7. He's still like 18th or 19th in non-PPR. That's interesting.
But that's factoring in what he just did.
Yeah, I thought he would be much higher than that because in non-PPR,
he hasn't been good.
But in non-PPR, he's only had one bad game, like 12, 8, 7, 3, 12, 28. I thought he'd be a little higher than that. So that's concerning, but it's 16 or more carries in 5 of 6 games. So I still think in non-PPR, that's really valuable. He's not Frank Gore,
No, he's not Frank Gore.
All right, a couple more questions here. Any news on Joe Mixon? Haven't seen anything. Really annoying. I'm approaching it as if Joe Mixon's going to be fine. But maybe a small bit on Gio, something like that. But I haven't.
Yeah, it's not bad to have Gio on your fantasy team just in case we get to the weekend. And just think about it. In 2 of the last 3 or 4 weeks, he popped up on the injury report on Saturday, once with a shin injury, I think it was, and another with his abdomen. So they've been somewhat cautious with him, even though he's played. But if he's out, Gio's going to be great.
From Bolt One Up, Friends from College is a great show. You should watch both seasons. Leaves you hanging in the end because it got canceled, though. Yes, that is true. But I'm glad people actually listened to something I said. They don't trust me with fantasy advice, Jamey, but they trust me with TV and movies, and I never, ever disappoint.
TV, I can't say that you have been wrong because I don't listen to your recommendations. Most of the movies that you recommend I've seen, or at least I've heard of. And you're terrible with your movie recommendation.
Give me one example of a bad movie recommendation. You can't do it.
Recommendation or review? I guess I should say review.
Yeah, like what have I been wrong about?
Well, Jerry Maguire is an easy one.
But that's not, but whether it's sports movie or not, it's a great movie. We love it. I have terrific taste in TV and movies. Ozzy, you said I'm not answering your question. I didn't see your question. I would have you know that you contributed more to this podcast, this show, than anyone else. You told me to reheat pizza in a frying pan. I have done it every single time since, including today for lunch. It is the best way to reheat pizza and the best thing I've learned this year. Thank you very much. And with that, we will bid you adieu. Good luck on the waiver wire tonight. We will talk to you Wednesday on the podcast, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern till 6 p.m. Talking starter sit, getting ready for the Eagles and the Giants. And then Sunday at noon here on Twitch, Sunday at 4 for the watch party. And make sure you're watching CBS Sports HQ. Monday through Friday, most weeks it's noon to 1. This week, there are a few episodes that are at 1 p.m. And Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, CBS Sports HQ. Thanks to Jamey. Thanks to Ben. Thanks to the other Jamey. I'm Adam. Thanks to you for watching. See you later.